This is the last topic that we are going to explore in this course, the topic about entrepreneurs and the new businesses. First, let's look at these photos and read the captions and statistics, then discuss these questions. What is an entrepreneur? How many people around the world want to start a business? How many of these businesses will be started? And would you like to start your own business? Try to explain it. Post your answer on the forum and discuss with other people. In this lesson, we'll continue practicing our listening skills with the main ideas and the specific information. With pronunciation, we'll focus on the thought groups, the elements that help you cut your sentences into smaller parts to say. With the speaking, we're going to talk about how to speculate, how to predict the future, as well as how to show your enthusiasm in your talk. Let's go. First, let's learn some vocabulary within this topic. Listen and read. Notice the word in blue. Those are our focus words of this topic. They can help you to speak better about this topic.
Unit 10. Lesson A. Building vocabulary. A. Meaning from context. Page 184.
Injaz and entrepreneurs. For university graduates in Egypt, finding their first job is a serious problem. It usually takes 5 years. Students say that there aren't enough jobs, but employers say that university graduates don't have the right skills to work in business or government offices. A group called Injaz is working to change this situation. Every year, Injaz has a competition that teaches Egyptian students how to run a business. Teams of students make plans, start their own small companies as entrepreneurs, and try to earn a profit. At the end of the competition, a group of Egypt's top business leaders choose the best company. Injaz was adapted from an American program called Junior Achievement. Last year, 9 teams in Cairo competed in the program. Some teams decided to sell a service. For example, Ahmed Yusri's company collected and recycled paper and glass from large businesses. Other teams developed a product. Noor Rafat's company created a magazine for teenagers called Did You Know? And Abdul Hamid Ahmed's company created a special bag for carrying laptop computers. The back of the bag is hard, so you can also use it as a lap desk for your computer. Starting a business always means taking a risk. The students must borrow money to start their companies and pay it back from the company's income. And only one team can win the prize. Last year, the judges chose Abdul Hamid Ahmed's computer bags. They even bought some of the bags. But every Injaz team is a winner because they learn the skills they need to succeed in business.
Match each word in blue with the definitions. Listen to the pronunciation and write down these words. Number 1, skills. Skills. 2, competition. Competition. Number 3, entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs. Number 4, profit. Profit. Number 5, service. Service. Number 6, product. Product. Number 7, created. Created. Number 8, risk. Risk. Number 9, income. Income. Number 10, succeed. Succeed. Now practice pronouncing these words. Read this conversation and fill in each blank with the correct form of a word. Remember, you may have to change the form of the word. Let's come to our talk. Listen to the first part of a PowerPoint lecture and complete the notes. What do you think the professor will talk about in the rest of the lecture? Giống như những bài trước mà chúng ta đã cùng luyện tập, chúng ta khi mới bắt đầu nghe một cuộc nói chuyện hoặc là một bài nói nào đó, chúng ta cần phải chú ý ngay từ những giây phút đầu tiên để chúng ta có thể xác định được hướng đi của cuộc nói chuyện hoặc là bài giảng và có thể dự đoán được những thông tin sẽ xuất hiện. So listen and fill in those blanks.
Lesson B. Developing listening skills. Before listening. B. Predicting content. Page 186.
We've been talking about small businesses, and we've seen that small businesses have some disadvantages. It's more difficult for them to borrow money, and the attitude and personality traits of independent business people can sometimes make a business fail. But they also have one big advantage. It is much easier for a small business to adapt to changes in the world and in the economy. In today's class, we're going to look at how one family business has adapted and changed for success from 1921 until the present.
Now, listen to the full lecture and answer the questions. Choose the correct main ideas.
Listening, a PowerPoint lecture. A. Listening for main ideas. Page 186 and 187.
Okay, so here in this slide, we have a vendor at the San Francisco Flower Mart. The San Francisco Flower Mart is one of the 5 wholesale flower markets in the United States. Florists come here to buy the flowers that they will use in their products. The market, or mart, opened in 1956, and you can still find many of the same kinds of flowers here, like roses, irises, and lilies. You'll also find some of the same people, like Bill Zapatini, one of the market's flower traders. Zapatini's father came to the United States from Italy in 1921 and decided to start a flower farm. He took a big risk, but he was a skilled farmer, and the family business was very successful from the beginning. California is the perfect place to grow flowers, as we can see in this slide. The weather is warm and sunny, and there is water available for the fields. Later, the Zapatinis joined with other flower growers and formed the San Francisco Flower Growers Association in 1926 to work for better profits. The Zapatinis' farm did well even in the 1930s. Most people had very low incomes then, but they still bought flowers. Bill Zapatini says that when life is difficult, people want to buy a little goodness and happiness to put on the table. I think I agree with him on that. Okay, then, in the 1960s, Bill Zapatini moved into a new area of business, flower distribution. They began shipping flowers from 30 different farms in California to markets all around the United States. Bill Zapatini even had a daily radio show. In order to persuade people to buy more California flowers, he talked about flowers as a part of everyday life, not only for special days like holidays and birthdays. In the 1980s, the economy of California began to change. The area around the Zapatini farm became famous as Silicon Valley, the center of high-tech industry. Many companies wanted to buy land there to build factories and office buildings. So, for a time, the Zapatinis went into the business of selling farmland to high-tech companies. Well, that was fine for a while, but Bill Zapatini missed working with flowers, so he went into flower trading, buying large amounts of flowers from growers and selling them to flower shops. In the past, the Zapatinis bought and sold flowers only from California. But larger airplanes and improved refrigeration made it possible for flowers to travel much longer distances in good condition. We can see people loading boxes of flowers onto a plane in this slide. Today, 67% of the flowers in the United States are imported from countries such as Colombia, Ecuador, and Costa Rica. Bill Zapatini now sells 200 different varieties of flowers from countries around the world, and the San Francisco Flower Mart is like a global shopping mall for flowers. There's no way the old traditional family farms can compete, he says, but small businesses like his have been able to adapt and change. So now, what about the future? Some people believe that within the next 10 years, the wholesale flower market may move away from places like the San Francisco Flower Mart to special websites. If that's true, we can be sure the Zapatinis will adapt once again. The next Zapatini business could be entirely online. They might click to buy 10,000 orchids in Singapore and click 5 minutes later to sell 2,000 orchids in New York.
You may listen again and complete the notes for each slide.
Listening, a PowerPoint lecture. A. Listening for main ideas. Page 186 and 187.
Okay, so here, in this slide, we have a vendor at the San Francisco Flower Mart. The San Francisco Flower Mart is one of the 5 wholesale flower markets in the United States. Florists come here to buy the flowers that they will use in their products. The market, or mart, opened in 1956, and you can still find many of the same kinds of flowers here, like roses, irises, and lilies. You'll also find some of the same people, like Bill Zapatini, one of the market's flower traders. Zapatini's father came to the United States from Italy in 1921 and decided to start a flower farm. He took a big risk, but he was a skilled farmer, and the family business was very successful from the beginning. California is the perfect place to grow flowers, as we can see in this slide. The weather is warm and sunny, and there is water available for the fields. Later, the Zapatinis joined with other flower growers and formed the San Francisco Flower Growers Association in 1926 to work for better profits. The Zapatinis' farm did well even in the 1930s. Most people had very low incomes then, but they still bought flowers. Bill Zapatini says that when life is difficult, people want to buy a little goodness and happiness to put on the table. I think I agree with him on that. Okay, then, in the 1960s, Bill Zapatini moved into a new area of business, flower distribution. They began shipping flowers from 30 different farms in California to markets all around the United States. Bill Zapatini even had a daily radio show. In order to persuade people to buy more California flowers, he talked about flowers as a part of everyday life, not only for special days like holidays and birthdays. In the 1980s, the economy of California began to change. The area around the Zapatini farm became famous as Silicon Valley, the center of high-tech industry. Many companies wanted to buy land there to build factories and office buildings. So, for a time, the Zapatinis went into the business of selling farmland to high-tech companies. Well, that was fine for a while, but Bill Zapatini missed working with flowers, so he went into flower trading, buying large amounts of flowers from growers and selling them to flower shops. In the past, the Zapatinis bought and sold flowers only from California. But larger airplanes and improved refrigeration made it possible for flowers to travel much longer distances in good condition. We can see people loading boxes of flowers onto a plane in this slide. Today, 67% of the flowers in the United States are imported from countries such as Colombia, Ecuador, and Costa Rica. Bill Zapatini now sells 200 different varieties of flowers from countries around the world, and the San Francisco Flower Mart is like a global shopping mall for flowers. There's no way the old traditional family farms can compete, he says, but small businesses like his have been able to adapt and change. So now, what about the future? Some people believe that within the next 10 years, the wholesale flower market may move away from places like the San Francisco Flower Mart to special websites. If that's true, we can be sure the Zapatinis will adapt once again. The next Zapatini business could be entirely online. They might click to buy 10,000 orchids in Singapore and click 5 minutes later to sell 2,000 orchids in New York.
Now let's listen to a case study and take notes to answer the questions. You do not have to write in complete sentence. In this part, try to listen and write down the keywords first before you read the questions. Ở phần này chúng ta hãy luyện tập cách ghi chép lại những thông tin quan trọng khi nghe một bài nói bằng cách là chúng ta sẽ nghe bài đó và chúng ta cố gắng ghi lại những thông tin quan trọng nhất, những từ keywords. Thông thường chúng ta nên ghi chép lại danh từ, động từ và các từ chỉ thời gian hoặc số liệu. Đó là những từ quan trọng nhất. So, listen and try to take note.
Developing listening skills. Listening. A case study and a conversation. A. Listening for main ideas. Page 196.
Okay, let me give you an example of someone who started an interesting business and did an excellent job of collecting information about her market. Here's an article in the newspaper about a 16-year-old girl in Malaysia named GN. Now, GN lives in a small town, and she's a high school student. And after school, she runs an online business to sell beauty products to teenagers in small towns in Malaysia. Every day when she gets home from school, she goes online to check for new orders. Then she packages the products that people ordered and takes the boxes to the post office herself. It's a lot of work, but her profit is up to $1,500 every month. Not bad, huh? GN's secret is that she knows her market very well. Before she started, she did surveys of all her female classmates and friends to collect information. She asked if they would buy beauty products online and about beauty products they couldn't find in their towns. And she recently hired an assistant to answer questions from customers while she's in school. With all this information about her market, GN can predict exactly what her customers want to buy. GN is very proud of her business. After she finishes high school, she will probably study business administration in college. She also wants to find new products overseas, and she may take a trip to Taipei. In the future, she could set up a real store in her town. Her experiences can teach us a lot about business success. So let's discuss this.
Now, use your note to answer this question. True or false? What are the wrong answers? Can you base on your note to answer these questions? Let's talk about pronunciation. Today we are going to learn about thought groups. So thought groups are the groups of words, usually from 2 to 5 words that form an idea. These thought groups can help you cut the long sentences into smaller groups so that when you speak, you can pause between those thought groups in order to help the listener understand you better. Ở trong tiếng Anh hay giống như trong tất cả những ngôn ngữ khác thì khi chúng ta nói, chúng ta không thể nói liền một mạch mà chúng ta sẽ thường phải ngắt nhịp nói. Ở trong tiếng Anh thì chúng ta có thể ngắt nhịp theo thought groups. Thought groups có thể được hiểu là một nhóm các từ khoảng từ 2 đến 5 từ mà gộp lại chúng tạo nên một ý nghĩa. Mỗi một thought group thì thường sẽ có một focus word. Focus word được gọi là từ trung tâm. Và từ trung tâm này thường sẽ được nhấn mạnh hơn các từ khác. Mặc dù là khi mà chúng ta nói thì chúng ta vẫn nên nhấn vào những keywords, nhấn trọng âm vào những keywords, đọc to, đọc cao. Tuy nhiên, cái từ focus word thì chúng ta sẽ đặc biệt nhấn mạnh. Ở giữa các thought group, chúng ta sẽ ngừng lại một khắc để chúng ta có thể chuyển giao để người nghe hiểu được cái ý của chúng ta rõ ràng hơn. Here are some examples. Our neighbor next door have a big brown dog. Thì ở giữa hai thought groups này, chúng ta nên ngừng lại một chút. Again, our neighbor next door have a big brown dog. Listen and repeat. Our neighbor next door have a big brown dog. Second, after my class, I'm going grocery shopping. Okay, after my class, I'm going grocery shopping. Number 3, finally, after an hour, the bus arrived. Finally, after an hour, the bus arrived. Number 5, on Sunday, we usually go hiking in the park near our house. Very good. Now, listen to these sentences. Mark the thought group with a slash. Chúng ta sẽ đánh dấu vị trí, điểm giao giữa các thought groups bằng gạch chéo.
A. Page 197.
1. My oldest friend has been living in my neighborhood for 15 years.
2. Josh and I are going home after lunch.
3. She started a business last year when she graduated from technical college.
4. You have to speak in English for 5 minutes to pass the test.
5. There's a beautiful red bird singing in the tree.
6. There's an article in the newspaper about the 16-year-old girl in Malaysia.
7. Her experiences can teach us a lot about business success.
8. She might study business when she goes to college.
Let's come to the next part about speaking. We are going to visit some spoken English and some presentation skills. Look at these 2 sentences. Can you find why the Zapatinis did each thing? Can you find the reasons in those 2 sentences? Okay, here's the answer. The reason will be shown in the phrase to work for better profits. Or in the second case, in order to persuade people to buy more flowers from California. In here, we have a way to talk about our purpose, our reason for doing something. We can use to plus verb to talk about it. Or we can also use in order to verb. Trong trường hợp này, khi chúng ta muốn nói đến mục đích làm một điều gì đó, lý do chúng ta làm một điều gì đó, chúng ta có thể dùng cấu trúc ngữ pháp to cộng verb hoặc in order to cộng verb. For example, Elisa borrowed a lot of money to start his new business. Ví dụ, Elisa mượn nhiều tiền để bắt đầu kinh doanh. Thì từ to ở đây chúng ta có thể hiểu như trong tiếng Việt là từ để. Từ in order to cũng vậy. To và in order to, so as to có thể mang nghĩa là để làm gì đó. Second, you can watch American movies to improve your English. Bạn có thể xem những phim Mỹ để cải thiện tiếng Anh của mình. Or in order to get a good grade, John studied 3 hours for a test. Để đạt điểm tốt, John học 3 tiếng liền để chuẩn bị cho cái bài kiểm tra ấy. It can comes the infinitive with to and verb, it can comes at the beginning or in the middle of the sentence. Cấu trúc này chúng ta có thể đặt ở đầu hoặc là đặt ở giữa câu để làm gì đó. For example, they used signs on buses to advertise their product. Or, to advertise their product, they used signs on buses. Now, in English, sometimes we need to talk about the future or speculation. Đôi khi chúng ta cần phải nói về những cái dự đoán của mình. For example, what do you think these things will be like in 5 years from now or 10 years from now? You may say the computer might something plus verb. Computer might. Đằng sau chúng ta để một động từ nguyên thể. Động từ nguyên thể ví dụ như là verb like the computer might become much better. Or number 2, the stores may. What do you think? What the stores may be like in the next 10 years. And number 3, the businesses could. What do you think? So we can use may, we can use might, we can use could to talk about speculation. Chúng ta có thể sử dụng may, might, could để nói về những dự đoán của mình. For example, Latasha may start her own business after graduation. Latasha có thể sẽ bắt đầu khởi nghiệp sau khi mà đã tốt nghiệp. She might sell her t-shirt designs in store. Cô ấy có thể sẽ bán những cái áo phông thiết kế của mình trong những cửa hàng. She could be very successful. Cô ấy có thể sẽ trở nên rất là thành công. We use may not and might not when we talk about the things that maybe will probably not happen in the future. But we cannot use could not. For example, Martin may not or might not go to college next year. Martin có thể sẽ không vào đại học năm sau. But we couldn't say Martin could not go to the college next year. Chúng ta không thể nói Martin could not go to the college next year bởi vì nó sẽ mang một ý nghĩa khác. Nó sẽ mang là Martin không thể vào đại học, nghĩa là không có khả năng vào đại học vào năm sau. When we speak, you have to show enthusiasm for your topic. It means that you have to show that you are excited, you are interested in what you are saying. When you show your enthusiasm for your topic, you are presenting or role-playing, your audience will be more engaged. Khi chúng ta nói, chúng ta cần phải thể hiện ra sự nhiệt tình, sự vui vẻ của mình khi mà chúng ta nói. Vì vậy, chúng ta có thể sử dụng một số những kỹ năng sau để thể hiện sự nhiệt tình của mình, để có thể làm cho bài nói của mình cuốn hút hơn. Chúng ta có thể thể hiện qua facial expressions, biểu cảm khuôn mặt, body language, ngôn ngữ cơ thể, or the intonation, going up and down, hoặc có thể thể hiện qua ngữ điệu của giọng. Now, watch the video below and pay attention to the speaker's facial expression, body language, and intonation. Tell me, what can you learn from that video? Write out on the forum and share your answer and discuss with your friends.
Roberto Monaco here with Influenceology. Today you learn a very cool concept called emotional engagement that's really important every single time you present. When I say presenting, I'm talking about one-on-one presentation conversations. I'm talking about phone conversations. I'm talking about video marketing presentations, webinars, and of course, public speaking. One of the biggest challenges that people have when presenting is the law of familiarity, because most of us are doing what you're doing for 5, 10, 20, 15, 30 years, and then you become very familiar with the subject. So when you present the information, most of us, not everybody, but most of us are not as passionate about information because we are talking about this information for 10, 20, 30 years. It's almost like when you get your job for the first time and you start learning and going to training and classes and you learn and you learn and you're so passionate about it. But then comes a point like, no, you know what? I'm an expert already. I know what I'm doing. I don't have to work as hard. And then almost like we lose our edge. It's called the law of familiarity. So one of the things that I teach our presenters and influencers that come to our classes is that every single time you present, you want to go over these 4 quick questions so that every time you're communicating through video, webinar presentation, you're totally engaged, emotionally engaged in your message, and you come across with a lot of passion, energy, enthusiasm, because that's real, not fake. This is real emotion that you really want to help someone. So here are the 4 questions. But before I give the 4 questions, I want to make sure you have in your mind either the product or service you're about to present, so that as I go through these 4 questions, you answer these questions and relate back to your business. So for illustration purposes here, I'm going to use an event we're doing. So before I speak about this event, I go through these 4 questions. Here we go. Question number 1. What is the danger, cost, and consequences for me, Roberto, if I speak about this program that we're doing and nobody shows up? Well, of course, there's a financial cost. I'll make less money. Number 2, there's an emotional cost, because now I'm not helping as many people as I can help. Number 3, the strategic cost, because usually when people come to our programs, we become friends for life, and now we develop some type of like business relationships in the future. I won't be able to do that because they're not coming. Then the second question that I ask this one: how do I personally gain or benefit every time I present my message and people decide, hey, I'm coming to your event? Well, of course, the financial gain. Our company is going to make more money. Number 2, emotional gain, because now I have more people. I feel like living my purpose. I'm really connecting and helping more people. And of course, the strategic gain of developing new relationships in the future. To develop like business on and on and on. Several new business opportunities can come from people coming to one event. Then I turn around and ask these 2 questions relating to the audience. Question number 3. What is the danger, cost, and consequences every single time I present my information about my program, but my audience does not take action? Well, some of them are going to be unfulfilled. Some of them will never tap in the power of one-to-many communication, public speaking, video. Some of them have a very important story to share, and they will never share this story. They're going to take that story with them when they're gone. It's very sad. Some of them will struggle financially because they're not using one-to-many communication. Right? So I really create a lot of leverage, as you can see. Then I ask the 4th question: how does my audience gain and benefit if they come to our program? Well, they're going to be able to communicate better. They're going to be able to overcome fear of public speaking. They're going to be able to record videos. They're going to be able to do talks persuasively around their community. They're going to be able to do webinars. They're going to be able to increase their expert status in their community. So I keep stacking all the benefits for my audience. By the time I'm done, I'm so emotionally engaged with my message, because I know every time I communicate, I know the danger, cost, and consequence for me if my audience doesn't take action. I know the benefits that I gain, influencers gain, every time I communicate and they take action. I also know, I'm very clear about the danger, cost, and consequence for my audience if they don't take action, and I know how my audience benefits when they do take action. Make sure you ask these 4 questions before you start presenting information about your product or service. Make sure your team also asks the 4 questions so that everybody makes more money, help more people, and have more fun. Feel free to leave the comments here below.
Let's do some practice. Choose a simple thing, then try to talk about it enthusiastically. Use your voice, your emphasis, your body language to make it seem like the most exciting in this universe. Bạn có thể chọn bất cứ một thứ gì đó quanh nhà mà mình biết nhiều về thứ đó và mình cảm thấy là mình có thể nói một cách hào hứng về thứ đó. Và hãy sử dụng giọng nói của mình, sử dụng những cách nhấn âm, sử dụng những ngôn ngữ của cơ thể và những biểu cảm của nét mặt để nói về cái đồ vật đó. Và hãy làm cho nó trở nên thú vị. You can video the speech and then post it on the forum. Share with other people. Now, in this lesson, we have learned some vocabulary about business. We have learned some pronunciation regarding thought groups, where you have to cut your long sentence into smaller parts and pause between. We have talked about how to speculate the future and show enthusiasm for your topic. I hope that you enjoyed the lesson today. Thank you very much for listening. In this course, we have covered the topics of staying healthy, energy, in the brain, and the entrepreneur and businesses. Hopefully that these topics bring you more vocabulary as well as more skills within the speaking and listening skills. I wish you a good learning journey, and I'll see you in the other course.